Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, September 14th. I hope everyone had an enjoyable Shabbos weekend, back to school, back to work day today. And, of course, our preparations are well underway for Rosh Hashanah. Again, thank you to everyone for letting us know and answering promptly so we can make proper seating arrangements, who's going where. Again, we ask everyone to please respect the assignments that have been given and the places that have been given. A lot of work went into this, so we can't have people who are say, I'm going to go here, I want to go there, I want to move my chair. The chairs are meant to, this is something new for us to have assigned seating, but given the current situation, it's just important so we can have proper spacing, families together, etc. So again, thank you for your cooperation, and we look forward to a very meaningful, uplifting, and exciting, albeit different, Rosh Hashanah and high holiday season this year. Our sponsor today for the video and Dvar Torah is Frima Sobel. Today marks the Shloshim for Ivan Sobel, Zichrono Livracha, Mordechai ben Wolf Ve'elka. Hard to believe that it's 30 days. It's hard to believe that we're even having this conversation. And even though 30 days of mourning has passed, and that's a certain benchmark in the mourning process, but while, and I mentioned to Frima that while the halachic mourning may end, the emotional mourning, that certainly does not end. And it's hard to put a timestamp on when that should or shouldn't begin and end. I also, I'm glad that Frima was able to spend each morning with us davening in the minyan. I said that she certainly made the entire minyan look better, because it's good to have someone make us look with a better appearance. But I hope, in all seriousness, I hope that you found comfort in being able to daven and say Kaddish with your community. So I think back to a few months ago when we first heard the news of what happened, and during a pandemic, and you couldn't go to the hospitals, and it was extremely difficult just even to get information, and even with connections that we had, etc. And then to when I had the opportunity to say goodbye to Ivan, and both right before, immediately before, and then at the Levaya and the Kavura. And as I mentioned at the Levaya, that Ivan was only 70 years old, and the amount of life that he lived in 70 years, I think, far surpasses what many of us really hope to accomplish in twice that amount of time. And if you ever knew him, and I had the privilege and the pleasure of knowing him, you learned from him no matter what. He taught you something. Even when you didn't ask him to teach you something, he taught you something. He taught you something by the way he carried himself. He taught you something by the way he behaved in shul. He taught you something by the way he told you stories, by the way he spoke about his family, by the way he was so proud to have Elke and Eric nearby, and the grandkids, and the bus. Who could forget that bus? And the way he spoke about Frima like she was his girlfriend at 16 years old. And that's how he looked at Frima his whole life. And his whole life was his family, and he spoke lovingly about his mother. And I was reminded, and I think of it now every time when we open the Aron Kodesh. When we used to open the Ark in shul, Ivan would have this look. And he told me a couple of occasions that one time when he was going through a particularly difficult point in his life, and he was in synagogue, and the Ark opened, and he saw his mother there. And he said that every time the Ark would open, he would see his mother there. So he was almost in a sort of trance when he looked at the Ark, and I can remember on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and he would just sit there focusing on the Ark, or focusing with eyes closed, listening to the beautiful sounds. He loved the singing. He loved the choir that we have on Rosh Hashanah and on Yom Kippur, and he said it just brought him to such a higher and better place. Well, we certainly hope that now Ivan is in a better place where there is no suffering, and he's living this sort of blissful neshama existence. And I'm trying to think of how do we cope with the loss of such a strong individual, someone who was so giving to our shul, to anyone in need, anyone who needed anything for the shul. And I could see, by the way, by the amount of tributes that have poured in to the synagogue in his honor from the most unlikely of places. So how do we pay proper tribute to such an individual? And I'm drawn to the very end, the very, very end of Megillas Esther. Ivan was a very positive person. Ivan was a very happy person. So let's go to one of the happy stories or the happy times of the year, which is Purim. And the Megillah closes in the last chapter, which is the 10th chapter. It's very short. It's only a couple of verses. It's 3 verses long. And the final verse of the Megillah is, Ki Mordechai HaYehudi Mishneh LaMelech Achashverosh V'gadol HaYehudim V'ratzu L'ro V'chav Doresh Tov L'amo V'dover Shalom L'chol Zaro. Mordechai the Yehudi, Mordechai the Jew, Mordechai ben Wolf. He was the viceroy to King Achashverosh. We know about his position that he achieved after the story, after the cat was out of the bag. Mordechai, Esther, Haman is vanquished. The Jews are saved. Mordechai now becomes the viceroy to Achashverosh. And it says that he was a great man amongst the Jews. He found favor with the multitude of his brethren. He sought the good of his people, and he was concerned for the welfare, l'chol zaro, for all of his descendants. What better way to sum up Ivan Sobel? He was a great man in a great position. He was so respected by his peers, not only in the workplace, but in shul, in the community, in all of his communities. And people sought his counsel, they sought his advice. His company was desired by so many people. But most importantly, Doresh Tov L'amo, he only wanted the good of his people. He only wanted to improve, whether it was here, whether it was in the country, whether it was any of the causes that he supported. V'dover Shalom L'chol Zaro. And he was concerned for the welfare of all his generations. All he wanted was to be surrounded by his family, to have his children living so close. He told me so many times that having Eric and Melissa and the kids living nearby, it was like completing a puzzle, because Elkie was already here, Elkie and Matt and the kids, and to have them within 1 mile or so and minutes away. It's like, he said, what did I do to deserve this? Well, he says, I never thought it would turn out this way, but Hashem is shining his love upon me, his light upon me, and to be surrounded by the love of his life, by Frima. And that's all he wanted, was Dover Shalom L'chol Zaro. That he wanted shalom, he wanted well-being, he wanted peace for all of his family, all of his descendants. So I think that's our job, and that's our responsibility. As we mourn the loss, and this is one that we will not soon get over, if ever. So many close friends, so many close acquaintances, so many people that respected him in the workplace, and somebody that loved him here in shul. That's everyone. And our responsibility is that we have to be like Mordechai. We have to be Doresh Tov L'amo. We have to find the welfare, seek the welfare of our nation, and Dover Shalom L'chol Zaro, and we have to seek the shalom, peace, for all of our descendants. So, Frima and Elkie and Matt, Eric and Melissa, and to the grandkids, your husband, your father, your grandfather, be sorely missed. But I know that I feel so fortunate that I was able to know him, to really know him, and to have celebrated many, many milestones, good and bad, and to get to be inspired by him. And this Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, I will be thinking about him, especially when the Ark is open. I hope that you will find the strength in one another and the comfort in one another, and having such a close family in going through this very difficult time. But today on the Shloshim, we think of the neshama of Mordechai ben Wolf Ve'elka, and may his neshama have an aliyah, and may he be sitting next to the Eibishter, hopefully sitting next to the holy throne, telling God one of his stories, if not the first, second, or third time, and hopefully and beyond. We'll gather together for many simchas, which I know are ahead. But right now, we think in commemoration. We think with love, fondly, of Ivan. Again, may his neshama have an aliyah. He is so terribly missed, and I hope that you'll know that your community is here for you. Your extended family is here for you in your time of need. And we will together go through one step at a time, as we must go through life, especially during these difficult periods. Again, may the neshama Mordechai ben Wolf of Elka have an aliyah. We'll have simchas, and we'll see everybody back here very soon.